Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mr. Sanchez coming at you with an Algebra 2 lesson. Today we'll be going over lesson 1-3, absolute value equations and inequalities. Our learning targets for today are the following: write, solve, and graph absolute value equations, as well as solve and graph absolute value inequalities. Okay. So let's go ahead and answer these questions, and then we'll move on. Right. All right. So let's begin. To solve these questions, you literally solve them like you would almost every other equation, it's just a little bit different. Okay. So when it comes to absolute value equations, once you have the absolute value alone, remember this is what absolute value looks like. You have to split the problem up into two different problems. All right. You're always going to keep the same inside. So you're going to write x minus 2. And the first time you rewrite it, you're gonna write this 3. Okay. But then you're gonna rewrite this problem as well as x minus 2. But it's also going to equal to the negative version of this number. So -3. Now each absolute value problem turns into two problems, and all you have to do is go ahead and solve each equation right, and you should get two answers. Right. So there's a one-step problem right here, x minus 3. To get rid of -3, you're going to do +3 to both sides. And you're going to get x is equal to 6 as one of our answers. And you're going to do the same thing over here. X plus 2, x plus, oops. 1 second, guys. I made a mistake. This should not be x minus 3. It should be x minus 2. I am human, so I'm sorry. But yeah, you're going to do +2 instead to both sides. And you're going to get x is equal to 5. Right? And now we can start the next problem. We're going to do +2 to both sides. Okay? You're going to get x. This is going to go away. You're going to get x is equal to -3 plus 2, -1. And these are going to be our answers. Okay? You're always going to get two answers. All right? And this is the most basic type of absolute value equation. Next up, we get a little bit more complicated one. It's what happens when you have an absolute value problem stuff outside of our absolute value. Notice here, our absolute value is not by itself. You're going to notice you have -5 times 2 on the outside. So we're going to want to get rid of everything outside of the absolute value. First, we're going to want to get rid of -5. Okay? How do you get rid of -5? You're going to do +5 to both sides of the equal sign. Okay, once you do that, this goes away, and you're going to get 2 times the absolute value of x minus 1 is going to equal to 11. 1 plus 5, which is 6. The next step is to get rid of this 2 right here, because it's outside of the absolute value. We're going to get rid of, remember, it's always multiplying. So whenever we want to get rid of multiplication, you get rid of it by doing some division. So you're going to divide both sides by 2. These will cancel out, and you're finally going to get the absolute value of x minus 1 is equal to 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Now that the absolute value is by itself, we can finally split up the problem. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and split this problem up. We're going to do x minus 1 equal to our outside, which is 3. And you're going to write x minus 1 again. And this time it's going to be equal to the negative version of this number. So equal to -3. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just go ahead and solve the problem. Each of the equations, all right? So since it's x minus 1, you're going to get rid of that by doing +1 to both sides, right? And you're going to get x is equal to 4 as one answer. Same thing over here. You're going to get rid of that -1. You're going to do +1 to both sides. And you're going to get x is equal to -3 plus 1. That's going to be -2. Okay? Yeah. And so basically that's it. Once our goal is to get the absolute value by itself. Once you get the absolute value by itself, you're going to split up the problem, right? You're going to get the positive outcome and a negative outcome. Okay? And now we're going to go ahead and do some these are absolute value inequalities, all right? So when you have greater than, you know you're gonna have to split up this problem. But once again, we can't split up our problems until we get the absolute value by itself, all right? You're gonna notice that what makes this problem different is that we have an inequality symbol. Don't worry, I'll show you what we do with that when we get to it, okay? But first things first, we want to get rid of this +1. How do we get rid of +1? We're going to do -1 to both sides. This is going to go away, and you're going to get that the absolute value of 2x plus 1 is greater than 5. Okay, now that the absolute value is by itself, right? There's nothing outside of our absolute value. We can go ahead and deal with this. When the absolute value, where the inequality symbol eats the absolute value side, that means that we're going to want to have split up our problem, right? We're going to split up our problem using OR. So now we're going to have 2x plus 1 is greater than 5, right? So we're going to copy the same thing, right? So you're going to do keep the 2x plus 1, keep the symbol, and keep the 5. But then when we split it up this time, you're going to write OR, right? The second time we split it up, you're going to keep the inside, which is still 2x plus 1. However, you're going to flip the inequality symbol. It's not going to be less than. And instead of having +5, we're going to have -5. Okay? And then you solve for each. Okay? Once we solve for each, we should be able to get, we're going to graph our answer. So we're going to get -1, -1 to both sides here. And you're going to get 2x is greater than 4. Divide both sides by 2. And you're going to get x is greater than 4/2, which is 2. Or we can have another type of answer. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides over here. That's going to go away. You're going to get 2x is less than -6. Divide both sides by 2. You're going to get x is less than -3. Okay, so this is our answer. X is greater than 2 or -3. And we normally want to write our answers up, okay? So what that means is if we have our number line, we have 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, 1, 2, 3. You're gonna want to graph your answers on a number line, okay? To graph x is greater than 2, because it does not have the or equal to sign, this is gonna have an open circle, okay? An open circle at 2. And we're gonna, since we're bigger than 2, which numbers are bigger than 2? They're gonna go to this direction. So we're gonna have that colored in. Or x is less than -3. We're gonna find -3. You're gonna put an open circle, and you're gonna go to the left because those numbers are less than -3. Remember, whenever you get or, your answer should go to the left, end up going like that. 1 to the left, 1 to the right. Okay. Now we're going to do a problem in which we figure out what to do where the absolute value symbol, I mean, not the absolute value, I'm sorry, where the inequality symbol eats the number, okay? Where it eats the number instead. This ends up being, instead of an or problem, you end up getting an and problem or a triple threat problem. I'll show you what you mean. So first things first, before we can work on this problem, we have to get rid of this +5 because we want our absolute value part to be by itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 5 from both sides, okay? Once you subtract 5 from both sides, you're going to get the absolute value of 3x minus 1 is going to be less than 7 minus 5, which is 2. Once you end up here, give me one about that. Yeah, so once we end up here, you're going to want to do this new inequality symbol, okay? What happens is you're going to end up keeping this inside, right? But now you're going to have less than 2, but you're also going to include this part right here, which is greater than -2, all right? So it ends up going inside both of these. What you're going to then do is you're going to draw these little lines here. This is going to help us solve this problem. We're going to go down here, right? And now the trick is whatever we do to the middle, we have to do to the left and right side, okay? So we're gonna wanna get x by itself. That's always our goal. So to get rid of -1, we're gonna do +1 to both sides. And by both sides, I mean all three sides. Oops, sorry. This, in turn, is gonna go away. And on the inside, you're gonna have 3x. -2 plus 1 is -1, less than 3x, less than 2 plus 1, which is 3, right? And then our last step is going to divide both sides by 3. Okay, that's gonna go away. And we're gonna have x is greater than -1/3, but less than 1. And that's going to be our answer. And how do you graph this? Well, that's pretty easy. You're gonna draw a number line. Make sure you put the two numbers you're working with, 0. I'll put this as 1/3, 2/3, and then 3/3 is 1, 0, -1/3, -2/3, -1, right? Because it does not have an or equal to sign, you're gonna fill this in. You're gonna leave an open hole at -1/3 and an open hole at 1, right? -1/3, +1. And our x is in between these two numbers. So you're gonna highlight that area in between -1/3 and +1. Okay, and that's it for this, for absolute values, equations, and inequalities. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in class. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you all in class practicing all this material. Let's see, how do I stop this? More and meaning, there we go.